is United We Strike Radio on the International Community Radio Network. Don't buy, don't comply, ask why. UnitedWeStrike.com radio.
Come.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Solo. So you know what that means? That's right. I'll be doing... Okay, I'll be doing all the talking for the next 30 minutes. Am I coming through okay, Detlef?
Yeah, you were breaking up in the beginning. Well, let's see how it works.
Okay.
Just go ahead.
Okay. Well, anyways, fasten your seatbelt because I'm going to be talking about reality distortions today. Reality distortions at the scalar level and 10 ways that you can identify and work with the changing energy patterns and fields all around you so that the structural changes being produced will be by your will, your intention, and your power rather than you succumbing and being victimized to the order and structure of another. So, in other words, how to raise up out of the imposed agendas and reclaim the power of your own sovereignty, your own life, and live to its true full potential. Basically, we're talking about breaking a spell and reclaiming your true essence. So in August of last year, I started an investigation group, as I've mentioned before, to come together and examine with others the anomalies that we were seeing in the skies, in the sun, in the moon, and in our overall matrix. It's been an unbelievably powerful experience, and some of the things I've learned I'm sharing with you today, okay? So what my research has led me to conclude about all the strange things happening in the skies today, and even on the ground, is that there's a massive electromagnetic disturbance going on, and it is ripping open all kinds of Pandora boxes. It can be highly unstabilizing to be in view of such changes on this scale. And as well, it can paint a very convoluted picture if one's approach does not include demystification. Demystification of phenomena requires some understanding of the physics of our universe. Electromagnetism is a key. All entities in the universe will have electromagnetic properties. It's that simple. This means opposing forces held in balance or imbalance, as it is the case with some, within a field. And understanding the energetic profile, how they're polarized or balanced, of the being/force field is key to understanding in a manner that does not violate another's field, while yet you are exercising your own according to your sovereignty. So if you're experiencing violation of your field of reality, like we all are today, your field of potential, then you need to adapt and fortify it. How? Well, that's part of the research. That's part of understanding your own energetic profile, going on the journey and discovering self, knowing self, and what resonates with you, as well as how your own biology works. So, a lot of people are saying some different things about the pineal gland, about the chakras. Well, for me, I don't want to fear those things. I want to explore those things. I want to find out what they are, how they function, and how they can be utilized properly. So I think perhaps rather it is a lack of knowledge of how to operate those things so that they do not give entrance to other fields that are not compatible with us. I think that's the key. And so, I'm all about learning the benefit of optimum energetic health. So that's what I think that's what Edgar Cayce called spiritualizing your soul. And I think that's what Jesus Christ in the book of Revelations called returning to your first love. At the core of it, it's a saving experience. It's an enlightening experience. Most people today just call this good psychological health. In other words, it's awakening to the real you and not the reality distortion of you that the world taught you. It basically means you're magnifying your inner light, your inner you that carries your true essence, your spirit, and you're resourcing that as your guidance system. Unfortunately, many have their inner light covered up by quite a bit of conditioning and programming that they have received from man-made doctrines and institutions and all of that, the control structures. And they basically are unable to distinguish between themselves and the external force fields that impose their will. And hence we have hive mind conditioning that kicks in and people succumbing to whatever is exerted upon them. Now, What does that have to do with sky phenomena, sun phenomena, and matrix phenomena that we have been seeing all around us? Simply this. Everything has an electromagnetic field. These fields are the life force that is in us, and that is in the earth that we live on. Let's take a hard example. Look at what's happening in Chile. We're all hearing about the earthquakes, volcano, and now even beaching of whales. And if we back off to a wider scale, in just the last 30 days, we have seen over 459 earthquakes measuring over 4.0 on the Richter scale. Okay? What do they have in common? Well, it doesn't take a PhD to triangulate that to electromagnetic instability. All it really takes to understand something all it really takes basically is the will, the desire to understand the interconnectedness of our world and our reality. And we're talking about that in one word. That's awareness. How do we achieve awareness? Well, ask questions. You can't go by the status quo of anything, no matter what the source is. You must experience the reality of these things yourself so that you can also experience the source of the power yourself and how it works. So in this day and age, you can do your own physics research on just about everything. You can be your own teacher, your own sage, your own alchemist, your own guru, master researcher, whatever you want to call it. See, that's what I'm doing. I'm conducting my own physics research on everything around me. I'm like a kid in a candy store with a camera. So, yeah, and my goal is to better understand myself and to better source myself. What I have been born with, what I have been given, what is eternal in me, what I came here with, what I am in my true essence. I'm using a really powerful tool to conduct my research with. And I have to say that the changes I've experienced inwardly as a result of my outward physics research, it's been life-altering, totally life-altering. It's been a very know thyself experience. And that is what I want to share with you today. A few thoughts I have on the structures and architecture of change that take place at the scalar level, even down to our own inner biology and DNA, of course, which affects the expression, expansion of our biology and our conscious awareness. All of which is a key that we have if we are to consider ourselves, we have to have this key, if we are to consider ourselves as any kind of synthesizer or catalyst for world change. So, to conduct my research, I have one basic main tool, and that's the power of my observation. I simply pay attention to how things are. I watch from all angles, visually, aurally, physically, emotionally, psychically, intuitively, with all of my senses and faculties. I do not have my head in a phone walking around. I have my head turned to the sky so I can see, what's up there and what's going on all around me. I watch everything. I'm a big note taker. I'm into documenting. I have notebooks in my lab and hundreds of gigabytes of mind maps and research notes and whiteboards and posters on my wall. And basically, I put my thoughts there and I look at them and I examine them and I study and I observe. So again, take for instance what's going on in Chile. There is a scalar electromagnetic type of activity that is intruding upon their field there. And how do I know this? Because I studied the clouds and I found common patterns in them that were related to electric and magnetic forces. I found these cloud signatures were present when strange or unexpected storms or other disasters had taken place. Radar and photographs and things like that, earthquakes, volcanoes, beaching dolphins, all of that has something in common: electromagnetic fields, which, when altered, will respond in that way. Electronic warfare and the domination and control of nature is a stated goal of the military-industrial complex. It only took me a very short time to connect the dots to the electromagnetic engineering of our reality matrix and how it was being massively altered into what feels like scalar rape. So, what to do? That's always the question, isn't it? What to do? So, with the remaining time that I have left, I'm going to talk about 10 ways that you can ride this wave which is what it really is. It's a wave. It's a massive electromagnetic scalar wave. How you can ride this wave of reality distortions and find your inner sanctum of peace and potential. Now, I might not get through all of them in the detail that I want to today because I only have about 20 minutes left or so. But I'm just going to breeze over a couple of these points. When I say ride, okay, I'm talking about flowing. Flow upon the wave. And what is the wave? Well, that's you. You are a wave of electricity and magnetism. You are a sine and a cosine at the core of your being. And that manifests as an electromagnetic field, sustained in health by a grounded light core and nourished biosystems within. And when I say reality distortions, 10 ways to ride through reality distortions, I'm talking about changes in your fields. We live in a world of clashing fields, clashing aspirations, clashing power, clashing perceptions, and there are some who are masters at manipulation of fields, and they use the Hegelian dialectic to rule the fields of others through confusion and deception. Problem, reaction, solution. We've all heard of that. Most of humanity is feeling some discomfort at the proliferation of reality engineering by an oligarchical, patriarchal elite who is masterful in a Bernays fashion, as they have weaponized the Hegelian dialectic. Try as they may to war against our consciousness, the key to their defeat lies simply within one thing, and that is to question. Questioning forms awareness, and awareness leads to informed choices. Always asking questions proves to be foundational in critical solutions, as the same consciousness that created the problem, you know how this ends, cannot be the same consciousness that solves it. This means we have to apply some cognition and intuition here and begin to examine our surroundings by what it is actually telling us, not what we have been preconditioned to perceive, think, and believe about it. Okay? So while I was in the intelligence field of the military-industrial complex, working as a crypto linguist and crypto analyst, I had a lot of opportunity to develop critical thinking skills. I had to decode advanced weapon systems and their applications through live audio foreign language transmission feeds of their users and controllers, and then reassemble that knowledge I ascertained into reports for the taskers of my assignments. I've taken those skills and I've applied them to other difficult phenomena, such as crop circle decoding, dream interpretation, obfuscated NASA photography of Mars and the moon, and now the phenomena in the sky. So what I want to share with you is just a few things I've learned professionally and intuitively that have helped me in my observations and ultimately in my own inner alchemical process of transformation. Okay? I'm going to rip through these because, again, I think I've only got about 15 minutes left. But number one, identify core patterns. This shows you the players, the ingredients, the catalysts. And I'm going to go back over these with a little bit more comment in just a moment. Number two, identify relationships of patterns to each other. This shows you process and field scope. Number three, identify the field scope and organized components. How large, how many? Number four, identify the activity, the capacity, the capabilities. Is it life-affirming, consciousness-expanding, and so on? A lot of questions you can ask on each one of these points to further expound on them. And number five, you have a profile now, okay? This is how you develop your profile. Profile is a baseline to measure against the set of patterns and the activity that they're expressing. But your profile needs to be fluid because it needs to allow for adjustment based on new incoming data, okay? Number six, identify the impact. What is the result of these patterns in their relationships? What are they creating through their interactions? Is it harming me or helping me? Number seven, identify the strategy which will lead you to the agenda. When you see a lot of footprints in one area, you know there's something important going on there. When you see George Soros dumping all of his banking stocks and investing in electronic surveillance and metal products, you can ascertain agenda out of that. That's a simple way of saying follow the trail. If you are constantly having problems sleeping, follow the trail and deduce causal factors. Match it with other footprints. Is it more than just too much coffee? Is there a greater influence at work here? Do you have Gwen towers in your neighborhood? That can cause sleep disruptions. Too much electromagnetic fields interacting around you can be harmful to you because you are a field. Number 8, excuse me. Now, understand the desire, the agenda, the aspiration, the goal. How does this compare to yours? Harmony or disharmony? Is there resonance? What resonates, or in other words, which is what you immediately feel as your inner senses take in the experience, and what is your reality and how it's affecting you. What resonates is what you are driven toward joining with. It becomes a union. See, this is where like attracts like. Does this system have my best in mind? Does this system, these people, this group, this attitude, this relationship, this food choice, will it empower me or weaken me? Now, number 9, define your field. Know your center, the true you, your true essence, not the conditioned you, not the programmed you, not the Republican or Democratic you, or whatever your religious or persuasion is, or educational pedigree, or whatever that. The real you. Do the inner work to get in touch with that center. This is a whole being activity. It includes mind and body and spirit. The whole being. Your brain, your blood, your colon, your kidneys, your heart, your lungs, your spirit, they all need to be clean. They all need to function at optimum health. So again, I say, eat the sun. You will thrive if you eat the sun. And if you don't know what it means to eat the sun, well, just eat some greens, eat some vegetables, eat things that have life. And number 10, establish feedback loops. This gives you a way to self-assess and manage your expressions for better judgment, better perception, better choices, and better energetic, well, just being, So let me just go back to points number 1 and 2 in the remaining time I have and share a couple additional thoughts on that. Going back to number 1, where I talked about identifying patterns, basic shapes, expressions, motions. See, that's how I figured out the electromagnetic scalar logarithm on radar. And in the cloud formations that we see in our sky photography. It appears as an Ouroboros. And I don't know if I said that word right. Ouroboros, the snake that curls up and swallows its tail. Okay, it appears as one of those, when it is closed upon itself as a field. And when it opens, it appears as a footprint, but also carrying signatures of a halved octagon. When viewed from above or below, the signature appears as a 6, a 9, and a G. This, I realized, was a fundamental pattern in all things. I began to see our connection when I realized that this was an electromagnetic signature that I could actually see in the shape of our skull, in the shape of nature, in the skies, in animals, particularly in embryos. And all of this came about just because I wasn't satisfied with, just seeing strange clouds and saying, oh, that's pretty, that's different. Ooh, ah. I really wanted to know what was causing this phenomena, the strangeness, the geometry, the texture, the colorations, just all this bizarreness that we're seeing in the skies now. Because, if in fact these changes in the skies and the sun and the moon and the, the aquatic, the dolphins and the whales and the birds and all these things that are dying off, if these were really going on, then I wanted to know what forces were at work creating this. Man, ET, natural Earth. I wanted to know how this was connected to predictions of these things happening, who was behind the predictions. I wanted to know if my own ignorance played a part. And if so, how could I become aware to such an extent that I might be able to play a cognitive part in this change and be like Bruce Lee said, be like water, to flow and to adapt and to not be a barrier to change, but a manager, a facilitator of whatever fields of energy I can be a master of to affect an outcome of beauty, of harmony, and goodwill. So that's what drives my desire to know. I want to decode this phenomena to ascertain exactly what the physics properties are and then apply that to myself introspectively so that I do not exist as a cog in the wheel of someone else's agenda when I could exist as a creator of my own agenda. My energy belongs to me to use as I see fit. Therefore, I must become skilled in the ways that I have been created to understand the processes and powers involved. When I do, I will see what is at my disposal and how they can be mixed together for any situation, for any expression. See, that's the creative power of life. That is a man who is in touch with himself and knows himself. He's not an escapist or one who seeks some kind of spiritual fantasy. He knows the architecture of his being and his surroundings, and he knows how to build with the tools of that creation, which is simply knowing how you are made as a system. Spirit in matter is a system, and how to keep that system at optimal health without disease and disfigurement so that potential can be achieved. Number 2, a couple more notes, a couple more thoughts on that. Identifying relationships of patterns. How do these things interact? Well, here I'm reminded of how I observed that there is a bird phenomena going on. There's a lot of new birds in my area, and I've talked to a few of the people around the world, and they've been observing the same things. What I noted was that they were, of course, new, and I noticed they were new because their conduct was unusual for the birds that typically reside here. I began to see a whole crop of different sizes and shapes, particularly these large black birds, and they were circling in what appeared to be targeted circuits. Their flight paths, their maneuvers, their wing movements were odd. They sat in trees with wings extended as though they were mechanically stuck. They appeared out of thin air. They dived in front of me in my car. They did so many unusual things. And of course, this is just one of hundreds of things that I've noticed around here. But I also saw them beginning to fight on a daily basis, attacking each other in the air. I had never seen that before. And I also noticed the absence of flocks. We don't have flocks around here anymore, flocks of birds. So the birds seem to have turned really predatory and very unnatural in a strong way. Well, I began to ask myself questions about the relationships of birds. This behavior, the changes in the sky, color, texture, strange shaped density and configuration of clouds, whiteouts, strange weather, sun. I began to connect that and ask questions. Is there a connection to the strange convergence of global, Earth events? At the same time, I was also teaching myself how to read infrared radar to better understand the deeper electromagnetic patterns of weather and how to match up clouds from the ground to clouds from the sky view, satellite view. So I was doing a lot of work in matching patterns and understanding relationships and causal effects. The only thing that kept coming to mind as the common denominator in all of this phenomena was electromagnetism. There had to be an electromagnetic relationship to all of these strange changes. Otherwise, there just simply was no rational way to explain it all. So with this research discovery, I could now begin to understand how things interact. It's like a chess game. We are all on the board of a massive electromagnetic field, and we're all fields within the field. And within us are fields within fields. Everything is a field. Within a field, within a field. You get it. And so I began to see my relationship to everything else much differently. Now I'm beginning to see connections and pathways that I've never seen before in understanding how this reality is constructed, how I'm constructed, okay, and how the universe is constructed, how nature is constructed. I have a very important key to this matrix we are in, and that is what I'm wanting to share with you today. The key will help you flow in the unveiling that is happening all around us so that what has been programmed into us by man can become undone, and those bands that bind us to an ignorant field of unknowing can be broken off, and the sweet elixir of truth and true essence can really be appreciated and worked with. So to summarize point 2, pattern relationships. How are these things, me included, interacting in this reality bubble that I'm perceiving right now? Is it normal, abnormal, pleasurable, painful? Am I being nurtured or condemned? Am I empowered or intimidated? Am I becoming stronger or weakening? Am I discerning or short-sighted? Am I easy to offend, or do I endure with patience the shortcomings of others? Do I approach others to validate myself, or am I sufficient within me? Do I criticize others when I could be empowering them with my wisdom? These are quality introspection questions that one can ask to see one's electromagnetic relationship with others. If you are polarized within yourself, you will polarize others. People in conflict with each other carry the same electromagnetic signature as clouds clashing, birds attacking each other, light distortions forming illusions, and so on. When your reality is glitching, it is because of this phenomena. Electromagnetic alteration, disturbance. The frequency has been changed, and now you must make choices. But an informed choice does not fully come until you are fully informed of how it all works. And that's why you must do this inner work of seeing the relationship of all things and how this creates a 3D sensory electric magnetic holographic reality that you live in. And then you will understand what your choices truly are. Your will to power will be effective, and you will be a master of your field. That's right. So how much time do I have left, Detlef?
Hi, JoAnne. Well, we are heading towards the top of the hour, and we have to break. So how can people reach you? How can they learn more about you?
Well, I first want to thank the audience, the United We Strike audience, and all those who have tuned in today. Thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting this network. You can reach me at joanneconsciousness@gmail.com. That's JoAnne, SCIOUSNESS. Got to spell that right or it won't get to me.
Oh, yes.
So, just want to encourage everybody to just be diligent, to be aware, do that inner work, recenter and balance your field. Yeah, and we're going to get through this. We're going to get through these changes.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. As a matter of fact, we are really experiencing something new, isn't it?
Indeed.
Yeah, thanks a lot, JoAnne, for your great performance here, also for your support for the United We Strike initiative. And we will be going on to our next segment now. We will be exchanging production from Switzerland to the US. So in our English part here of the United We Strike Radio-Marathon. Thanks a lot, JoAnne.
My pleasure.
We will be listening here to a tune which is famous here in our United We Strike Radio-Marathon for this specific break, and that is F.K, the Fed. Yes, by Neil Fox. Okay, so stay tuned. We will be handing over to Matt Navarro, our great producer in the US, so stay tuned. This is Detlef of Wake News Radio, Wake News TV, here on our United We Strike Radio-Marathon. Thanks for listening. Okay. See you.
UWS Radio and the International Community Radio Network is a joint partnership in Internet Community Radio, working to give each country a voice on a united global platform.